Good evening, friends. Here is your comprehensive, high-utility news brief covering the most critical global medical developments on August 11, 2026. 1. Headline News: U.S. Executive Order on Childhood Vaccines. The big news: U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order directing the Health Department to space out the standard childhood vaccine schedule. The controversy: during the announcement, the president repeated debunked claims suggesting a link between the timing/number of vaccines and rising autism spectrum disorder rates. Medical backlash: the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, fiercely opposed the order. AAP President Dr. Andrew Racine stated that the announcement spreads uncertainty, fear, and confusion, emphasizing that vaccine science and safety metrics have not changed. Legal standing: portions of this schedule change were previously blocked by a federal judge, setting up an immediate legal battle between the White House and medical advocacy groups. 2. Global health crisis: Ebola spreads at unprecedented speeds. The situation: the World Health Organization, WHO, and Africa CDC confirmed that the Bundibugyo Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, has become the second largest on record. The data: more than 4,000 people have been infected, and 1,800 have died in just under 3 months since being declared a public health emergency of international concern. Heartbreaking demographics: UNICEF reported that children make up nearly 25% of cases and over 30% of total deaths. The medical response: because there is no approved vaccine for this specific Bundibugyo strain, the WHO Technical Advisory Group has prioritized the Ervebo vaccine for a randomized clinical trial to test for potential cross-protection. 3. Nutrition breakthroughs: the death of low-fat advice? Full-fat dairy defended: a landmark study published in the Journal of Nutrition has officially challenged decades of standard clinical advice by showing that 3 daily servings of full-fat dairy over 12 weeks did not negatively impact body weight, body composition, or blood lipid levels in overweight. Overweight adults. The Sweet Tooth Trial. Results from a parallel 6-month randomized controlled trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition revealed that cutting out sweet foods does not reduce long-term sugar cravings or fundamentally alter metabolic health. The video takeaway: public health messaging needs to shift. Experts now recommend distinguishing sweetness from added sugar. Low-calorie sweeteners or naturally sweet foods are fine. The highly processed, calorie-dense foods are what actually destroy metabolic health. 4. MedTech and FDA: AI takes over cancer pathology. The milestone: Leica Biosystems secured multiple FDA 510(k) clearances, most notably launching the industry's first standalone, AI-assisted quality control software for digital pathology, Aprio IQCDX. Why it matters: pathology laboratories are facing critical staffing shortages and soaring cancer case volumes. This AI integration automates the quality check of digital tissue images, drastically reducing diagnostic errors and speeding up cancer detection. 5. India Spotlight: NIIT bans and the MedTech rebellion. The NIIT conflict: the Tamil Nadu Assembly unanimously passed a resolution demanding the complete abolition of the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, NIIT, for undergraduate medical admissions, citing systemic exam irregularities and severe mental stress on students. Industry pushback: 11 major Indian medical technology groups, led by the Association of Indian Medical Device Industry, AIMD, wrote a joint appeal to Health Minister J.P. Nadda. They are demanding that the government separate medical hardware and tech devices from the Draft Drugs, Medical Devices and Cosmetics Bill, 2026, arguing that engineering-based medical devices shouldn't be governed under pharmaceutical laws. Analysis of more than 280,000 patient records found that HSV had the strongest association with Bell palsy among evaluated factors, exceeding the association seen with diabetes and depression. The researchers concluded that these data strongly support the hypothesis of an association between herpes and Bell palsy and suggest that HSV reactivation appears to be a major risk factor, even though the condition remains multifactorial and causation is not definitively established. Medscape. Hashtag Pulmonology News. Top headlines: The Respiratory Revolution. The FDA has just approved Moderna's Emplusiva, making it the world's first mRNA-based influenza vaccine authorized for adults aged 50 and older. This milestone anchors a massive week of clinical breakthroughs across respiratory medicine, spanning AI-driven autonomous oxygen systems, precision oncology expansions, and next-generation severe asthma management. Hashtag adversarial factuality verification. 1. Limit and dosage check. AstraZeneca's Breztri Aerosphere single inhaler triple therapy, BGF 320/36/9.6G, was expanded by the FDA for asthma maintenance in patients aged 12 years and older. Moderna's Emplusiva received FDA approval for adults 50 and older, with accelerated approval for 65 and older. 2. Absolute statement check. Refrain from describing pipeline biologics like itepekimab or tozorakimab as universally effective. Specify that their benefit profiles vary by clinical subtype, e.g., itepekimab showing stronger signals in former smokers. 3. Citation and term check. Confirmed that zongertinib, Hernexios, for HER2 mutant non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, and zidesamtinib, Jadaytro, for ROS1 positive NSCLC are the specific precision oncology therapeutics approved in this recent window. The top 5 paradigm-shifting updates in pulmonology that you need to know. Asterisk vaccine innovation. Moderna's Emplusiva secures FDA approval, altering the seasonal immunization landscape for aging adults. Asterisk critical care tech. Autonomous oxygen titration systems prove to drastically outperform manual clinician adjustments in new clinical trials. Asterisk precision oncology. Dual targeted therapy approvals. Zongertinib and zidesamtinib provide new paths for rare non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, mutations. Asterisk asthma maintenance. Long-term data rolls out following the landmark FDA approval of Breztri Aerosphere as a single inhaler triple therapy for patients 12 and older. Asterisk COPD biologics. Unpacking the clinical divergence of anti-IL-33 therapies, itepekimab versus tozorakimab, from late-breaking trial reviews. Segment 1. The mRNA shift in influenza prevention. For decades, seasonal influenza vaccines relied on traditional egg-based or recombinant protein platforms. Today, that framework officially expands. The FDA granted approval to Moderna's Emplusiva, an mRNA vaccine targeting influenza in adults 50 and older, with accelerated approval for individuals aged 65 and older who bear the highest burden of severe respiratory complications. Hashtag why this matters for pulmonologists. Influenza remains a primary driver of acute exacerbations in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and severe asthma. The key advantages of this mRNA platform include: 1. Rapid strain matching. Traditional vaccine manufacturing takes months, forcing scientists to predict circulating strains nearly half a year in advance. The mRNA infrastructure allows for rapid synthesis adjustments to match late emerging viral variants. 2. Robust immune response. Top-line data reveals a highly uniform antibody response in older adults, whose aging immune systems often mount a suboptimal response to standard flu shots. 3. Consolidated logistics. This sets the stage for future combination respiratory shots, e.g., COVID-RSV flu combined injections, to improve patient compliance. Segment 2. AI and autonomous oxygen titration in critical care. In critical care pulmonology, managing supplemental oxygen delivery has long been a balancing act. Clinicians struggle to keep patients in the sweet spot of normoxemia, avoiding the cellular damage of hypoxia and the tissue toxicity of hyperoxemia. New clinical data released today highlights a game-changing solution: autonomous oxygen titration. Oxygen titration comparison, time spent in range. Autonomous titration, 85% normoxemia. Manual clinician care, 63% normoxemia. Hashtag key findings from the trial. Asterisk normoxemia maintenance. Patients using automated, closed-loop oxygen systems spent 85% of their time in normoxemia, compared to just 63% for those receiving standard, manual care from clinicians. Asterisk hyperoxemia reduction. Manual titration frequently leads to overoxygenation due to delayed adjustments. The autonomous group saw hyperoxemia plunge down to 9.2%, compared to a massive 29.1% in the manual cohort. Clinical real estate, principal author Dr. Ada Jinda noted that this technology fundamentally redefines civilian and military emergency medicine by freeing up thousands of clinical hours while protecting fragile pulmonary vasculature from oxidative stress. Hashtag segment 3, Precision Oncology and Lung Cancer Breakthroughs. Marking the momentum from World Lung Cancer Day earlier this month, the therapeutic landscape for non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, is pivoting entirely toward extreme precision. The FDA recently finalized 2 accelerated approvals for highly specific molecular subtypes, offering hope for patients who historically faced poor prognosis. Therapeutic agent, target mutation, clinical efficacy highlight. Zongertinib, Hernexios, HER2 mutant NSCLC, 76% objective response rate in untreated cohorts, reviewed in just 44 days. Zidesamtinib, Jadaytro, ROS1 positive NSCLC, strong central nervous system, CNS, penetration for previously treated patients. Hashtag the pulmonologist's role in biomarker testing. These drug rollouts underscore a critical clinical mandate: early, comprehensive next-generation sequencing, NGS. NGS, tissue or liquid biopsies. Interventional pulmonologists must secure high-quality tissue during endobronchial ultrasound (EBUS) or navigation bronchoscopy to ensure these targetable mutations aren't missed before initiating systemic first-line chemotherapy. Hashtag segment 4, Triple therapy dominance in asthma management. Moving to chronic airway disease, clinical guidelines are fully adapting to the expanded indication for AstraZeneca's Breztri Aerosphere. Originally a staple in COPD care, this single-inhaler triple therapy, combining budesonide, glycopyrrolate, and formoterol fumarate, is now widely utilized as a standard maintenance drug for adult and pediatric asthma patients aged 12 and older. Hashtag what the Phase 3 CALOS and LOGOS data showed. 1. Rapid onset, lung function significantly improved within 5 minutes of the very first dose, driven by the fast-acting bronchodilation of formoterol. 2. Exacerbation control. The single-inhaler formulation addresses a massive clinical gap for the roughly 50% of persistent asthma patients who remain uncontrolled on dual therapies, ICS/LABA. 3. Adherence advantage. Consolidating an inhaled corticosteroid, a LAMA, and a LABA into one pressurized meter-dose inhaler eliminates the inhaler confusion that frequently leads to patient non-adherence. Hashtag segment 5, Pipeline Watch, interleukin-33 pathways in COPD. We close today's briefing with an essential look at the biologic horizon for COPD. For years, biologics like dupilumab transformed respiratory care but remained restricted to type 2 inflammation profiles, elevated blood eosinophils. Now, the spotlight has shifted to alarmins, specifically, interleukin-33, IL-33, inhibition. Hashtag the tale of 2 trials, itepekimab versus tozorakimab. Itepekimab, ARIFI 1 and 2 recent analysis reveals a distinct divergence in clinical data. While global trial site variability during the COVID era complicated overall readouts, itepekimab showed a distinct, 27.1% reduction in annualized exacerbation rates specifically among former smokers. This points to a niche regulatory pathway ahead. Tozorakimab, Operon and Titania. Conversely, tozorakimab's Phase 3 program demonstrated a broader impact, reducing moderate to severe exacerbations across all eosinophil levels and smoking histories, firmly establishing IL-33 as a viable pathway for the broader, non-type 2 COPD population. Outro and community discussion. That wraps up today's news update for August 11, 2026. From mRNA flu vaccines protecting vulnerable lungs to closed-loop AI systems managing oxygen in the ICU, the field of medicine is moving incredibly fast. Disclaimer: compiled information. This content is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for professional advice. The audience must verify the contents before use. The creator, publisher, and YouTube will not be responsible for any harm.